Steve, what are some of the biggest challenges a high school strength and conditioning coach faces in terms of developing and maintaining a successful program at a high school level?
There's quite a bit of challenges. The one I think of is, at the high school age, there's such various age groups and various ages of development, and so trying to make sure each kid is developing at the right time with the right tools and the right exercise programs is probably a big challenge, especially if it's just me. Yeah. I'm lucky to have an assistant coach, Mike Holmes, that works with me, which is fantastic. So that's a really big help as far as getting more hands-on approach when we work in the weight room. I also have a relationship with UMass Boston, and I have interns that come over here and help me with some of my programs. So having the more hands-on, more people to help me develop programs makes me make sure everyone is developing the right way.
Yeah, just more eyes viewing the athletes.
It's huge. The other thing is, like I've talked to you earlier about the functional movement screen, and a lot of the athletes, whether it's just something we've started to develop now or whether it's been out for a while, is that a lot of our kids are sitting a lot throughout the day. Obviously they're in school, but when they're at home, and so because of that, with the kids are developing poor posture, developing tight hips, so we have
notice I'm sitting up straight, right?
Yeah. So with a lot of my programs, I do have to spend a solid amount of time really trying to develop those mobility in the hips, mobility in the shoulders, so they can move better before we go and lift in the weight room. And for some kids, it takes a while to get that to open up a little bit better, but it's about educating them about what their movement pattern restrictions are and try to work on that.
I'm glad to hear that. You're patient. You have to have patience with the athletes in developing them, and you're looking for these postural deviations and things of that sort of weaknesses, say in the anterior chain. And that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the other biggest challenge for any high school coach that I think I've developed is at times trying to have girls buy into weight training. I think body image is kind of a tough thing, and you got to the girl's got to trust you that this is going to be okay and it's going to help her. But we've been doing a pretty good job. Actually, this past winter, my winter program after school, we had more girls than guys in the program, which was the first time, which was outstanding, and it was great to work with them. And they needed, maybe even more than the guys at times because of ACL injuries and so forth. And, a lot of education about the miss of weight training with girls sometimes is tough, because it's sort of like you get this one group of girls and you take them through and they graduate, then there's another group you got to start educating again as they come through. So that tends to be a pretty big challenge. And the last thing I'd say is time. At the college setting, you have more time to work with athletes. I think sometimes at high school it's tough, especially when everybody's on the same schedule. Right. And so we're trying to always crunch in our groups in the afternoons, whether it's in season or off season. Right. And we're noticing now, which is a good thing, our weight room is actually at times we've outgrown it. And we need to try to come up with ideas to try to either get rid of some equipment or bring in things that could open up more space. But what we're noticing now is that because we have running so many different programs, and even the general community has really utilizes our fitness center, there's times where it's very crowded and a little chaotic, and so
it's a nice problem.
It is a nice problem, but I just get nervous about dangers in the weight room. So I always have to be very strategic about scheduling different groups in the weight room, making sure one group's coming out, another group's coming in, and making sure the time is there and so forth. We're lucky in the evenings in the winter, our hockey teams practice at night, so they actually do their in-season training at night when no one's around, with our coaches, and which is a great thing to have. So
yeah. Now you mentioned in-season training, and I over at BC High for 23 years, I was a strength and conditioning coach. That was a challenge for me, and I know it's a challenge for most any high school strength and conditioning coach. Because you mentioned it's a time factor more than anything else. I think that all the coaches would, agree with you that it's important that their athletes, do some form of in-season training to at least maintain the level at which they started the season in terms of strength and conditioning. They don't go through that deep. Well, they all go through the detraining effect, but they won't go through it as much if they have the in-season training. So how do you handle that? And do you get a lot of cooperation with your coaches?
I'm very lucky. Like I said, I've been here 11 years, and it wasn't easy when I first came here, but I have tremendous coaches that take time out of their practices for us to work with their teams. Coach McDonald with football, Coach Reddix with basketball, Coach Kanata with ice hockey, Coach Peter Kahn with girls soccer, girls basketball. They are a tremendous support. They really think that it does help, and they really want us working with their kids. And even our basketball coach on Mondays, he almost pretty much gives us the team for half the practice, because he just that's the day that we got to really focus on something.
So you have some true believers.
Yes.
In the
Yeah, and it's been great. And the kids who go on to college, really thank us afterwards when they come back. They don't realize, what we have going here with the coaches and the type of community that we have and the type of facility that we have, and having it all work together. And when it all comes together and they win a championship, like our hoop team just won the ISL championship the first time ever in the history of the school. It was all that great combination of great coaching, great athletes, and hard work and commitment. So it was nice. It was nice to see it all come together.
Nice, very good.